Joining me now is Senate Majority Whip John Thune, Republican of South Dakota. Good to see you today. I want to start out with where we are with the Mueller report being 300 pages. We know we got a 4-page summary from Attorney General Barr. The president is saying release all of it. Where do you put it?
I agree with the president on that point. I think it's important that that be made public. I think it's important also that they do go through the process that they are right now, trying to make sure that there isn't classified information released, that there aren't innocent lives that are put in jeopardy when it's released. But as soon as that process is completed, the Attorney General, I hope, will put out everything. I think that's the best way to do this. Transparency is always the best solution, and I think what we know already is that the conclusion that they came to, the bottom line conclusion, was that there wasn't any collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians to try and interfere in the 2016 presidential election.
All right, let's take a look at what a recent CNN poll found with some of the American people. This is interesting. 6 in 10 Americans say that they think Congress should hold hearings to investigate Mueller's findings. However, I should point this out, that the partisan divide is deep. Many more Democrats are saying this than Republicans. Senator?
Well, I'm not surprised by that, Harris. I think that's the way this issue has played since the very beginning. And my guess is there probably will be some hearings. I suspect that Lindsey Graham, who chairs the Senate Judiciary Committee, will invite some of the players up to testify about this. And so I think that there will be an ample opportunity for people to get access to whatever information, whatever the findings were in the Mueller report. But again, bottom line conclusion in all this is that there wasn't any collusion. And I think that's something that the president said from the beginning. And his statements have now been validated by the special prosecutor in this case, and I think that the American people, for the most part, have kind of put this behind them and have moved on, and we're anxious to move on because there are a lot of issues that we need to deal with.
Well, health care has been put on your plate pretty heavily by the President of the United States. Hey, I do want to get to this because there is this call now, a growing call for the chairman, Adam Schiff, to resign, and Speaker Nancy Pelosi defended him. Watch this.
They're just plain afraid. They're afraid of the truth. They're afraid of competence. They're afraid of a leader who is recognized in our country for being calm, professional, patriotic. I'm so proud of the work of Chairman Adam Schiff.
Does Chairman Schiff need to resign?
I think it's perfectly appropriate for the Republicans on the panel to ask him to do that. He has been peddling a false narrative about the president now for the past 2 years and has never missed an opportunity to try and get in front of a camera to continue to come up and make stuff up out of thin air. And that's exactly what the Republicans on the Senate Intelligence Committee were saying today, that as the chairman of that committee, he shouldn't be out there making things up. And it's clearly, in his case, it's always an opportunity to get in front of a camera. But he has been, for 2 years now, peddling this false narrative, and he's been busted on it. And I think it's perfectly appropriate for them to ask him to do that.
All right, let's move on now. Politico is reporting that House Judiciary Chair Jerry Nadler spoke with Attorney General William Barr yesterday, after which he said Barr would not commit to turning over Mueller's entire report and would likely miss the deadline, which they set for April 2nd. Next week. Nadler said would not say if he intends to subpoena the DOJ. What happens if we go down that road with subpoenas?
Well, look, I think that we ought to give Bill Barr, the Attorney General, an opportunity to go through this report and make sure, again, that they're not putting out their sensitive information that would harm innocent people or put classified information out there. And remember, it took 2 years to do this report. They issued 2,800 subpoenas. They interviewed 500 witnesses. And it took a lot of time to put this report together. I think it's perfectly appropriate to allow the Attorney General to have an opportunity to look at this and make sure that when it's submitted without jeopardizing or putting at risk innocent people who might have been interviewed during the process.
675 days, to be exact.
Correct.
To get to this point. Great to see you. Senator Thune, thank you.
Thanks, Harris.